Beyond the buzzer, inside the game, this is Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Good Monday to you here in the Sports IQ. Larry Smith, glad you're with us. Hopefully you had a great weekend. I was down in Atlanta. Great to get down there, Atlantic Station. Got a chance with my wife to go down and just watch Tennessee, Kentucky, also A&M, Texas A&M taking on LSU down there. Spent some time with our daughter. Just a great time this weekend. Hopefully you had a good one as well. Back here in the saddle on a Monday, and we have lots to talk about. Some great guests coming up. Cole Thompson of SEC Unfiltered is joining us here in just a couple of minutes. Nothing going on in the SEC, right? Nothing happening yesterday? Saturday? No? Yeah. Bueller. Anyway, he's coming up. Also, we get into some college basketball. Hard to believe, again, we're just days away from the tip-off of the regular season. Chris Dortch, first-time guest here on Sports IQ. He is the editor-publisher of Blue Ribbon College Basketball Yearbook. BlueRibbonYearbook.com is where you go. It is a great publication. It has been so for decades. He'll join us as we get ready for college basketball. We'll ask him kind of who he likes here in the early part of the season, just before the season begins. We'll get his thoughts as well. Okay, obviously, you were still talking about Sunday's big news out of Baton Rouge as Brian Kelly is fired, 34-14 in 4 seasons there, but he lost 3 of his last 4, all in the SEC, all 3 losses to top 10 teams, including Saturday's debacle there at Tiger Stadium, 49-35, just was ugly in the second half, and that really probably led to his demise right there. Associate head coach Frank Wilson takes over. By the way, it's a $54 million buyout. Kelly is owed 90% of his remaining salary. That comes up to roughly $54 million. However, reports are they are still negotiating that. Did hear one report of possibly $39 million, the number they've decided upon. We will see if that holds to be true. By the way, LSU also on Monday firing their offensive coordinator, Joe Sloan. He is out. So they've got 2 weeks to kind of figure things out here before number 4 Alabama hosts them coming up on November 8th, a week from this Saturday. Top 25 in the AP, the top 6 remain the same. Ole Miss and Georgia Tech swap, so the Rebels now 7, Yellow Jackets now 8. In the coaches' top 10, the coaches' top 25, the top 10 are all the same. Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, Alabama, and then Georgia. Game 3 of the World Series is tonight in L.A. It's an 8 p.m. Eastern time start that can be seen on Fox. Blue Jays and Dodgers, they both are tied at 1 after the Dodgers came back with that great pitching effort in Game 2 on Saturday. Meanwhile, in the NFL, the Colts now in a league best 7-1, 38-14 over Tennessee. Daniel Jones, Indiana Jones, I love to call him that. Love that. 3 touchdown passes. Jonathan Taylor, 12 carries, 153 yards, and 2 scores as well. Indianapolis looking outstanding here in the first half of the season. Meanwhile, the Packers beat the Steelers Sunday night on NBC, 35-25. Jordan Love, great night for him, 29-37, 360 in the air. 3 touchdowns. Green Bay now is at 5-1-1. Big win over the Steelers. They're in Pittsburgh, and former Green Bay legend Aaron Rodgers taking the loss there for Pittsburgh at quarterback. Tonight, Monday night, just one game. It is Washington at Kansas City. Let's get back to more of that Brian Kelly situation and just really college football overall. Joining us once again, friend of the show. Glad to have him back on here. Cole Thompson with the SEC Unfiltered. There's a lot to unpack right now since last time we talked with you. Let's start, though, with the very latest. Brian Kelly out at LSU. Not a huge surprise. I mean, he's been on the hot seat now for quite a while. But you'll notice that his 3 losses are all against top 10 teams. Why kick a guy out that's losing to other top teams?
Yeah, Larry, it's really interesting when you lose these type of games and you've been able to get 10+ win seasons, and we talk about the overall progress of where the team has gone. There's usually things hiding behind closed doors that lead to this departure. And from what I've gathered, one of the biggest ones is Brian Kelly never took what LSU was about. And that is one key element, and that's the letter L, which stands for Louisiana. Doesn't stand for losses, doesn't stand for liability, it stands for Louisiana. And he never wanted to embrace what Louisiana is. Larry, if you look at LSU just in general, it is, in my opinion, a top 5 job in college football. Some people would argue it's the best job in college football. And the reason why is because you have this beautiful asset and advantage that nobody else has. And that is called We Are the State School. And when you go to Alabama, you got to fight with Auburn. When you go to Georgia, you got to fight with Georgia Tech. When you're in Florida, you got to fight with multiple schools, Texas, multiple schools, California, multiple schools. You don't do that in Louisiana. Every kid that grows up in that state wants to play for the purple and gold. They want to play in Death Valley. They want to represent the Tigers. And Louisiana, the folks there are so kind when you get to know them, and they care so much about their state. So they are loyal to the team, not loyal to the coach. That's always been a facet when it comes to LSU and whatever moves that they decide to make. So Brian Kelly never wanted to embrace that part of LSU. There had been rumors going on that he was only putting in 80% of the work when they were giving him the contract to put in 90% of the work. I talked to a buddy of mine recently and said he was down in Florida during the bye week, not trying to get the team mentally prepared after coming off of a loss to Ole Miss. Just a lot of things that you didn't want to see from a coach at that program. And the thing is, Larry, with that type of program, you have to be 100% committed and you can't BS it. They'll read right through you and they will see the evil in your smile and they will send the voodoo shaman man to go ahead and put a hex on you that eventually leads to you having a shrunken head. Like that is what LSU is all about. They are all committed to being at LSU. And if you do not want to give 150,000%, if you don't want to find hours in the day that don't exist to make them exist for LSU football, you will not survive there. And Brian Kelly didn't want to do that. And so ultimately, from what I gathered, there was a conversation last night about moving off of multiple people. And this is coming from the boosters, the athletic department. And Brian Kelly said, I'm the head coach. I make the calls around here. And they said, we'll show you who makes the calls around here. You no longer are the head coach. We're going to go bring in somebody that will do what we ask them to do because we're LSU and we can afford to go ahead and cut you loose and bring in somebody that we believe can be a better fit.
Yeah. One thing I noticed and read, and you can help me give us some clarity to this, is in terms of the way these different buyouts are structured. Because we now are talking, he's the third coach in the SEC alone to be out of a job. And we're only in October, right? I mean, Florida and Arkansas, right? Okay. So, but so many of these are worded differently. I mean, another coach, SEC coach on the hot seat is in Kentucky, Mark Stoops, may not win a game in the SEC this year. I don't see a path to do that, although I thought Cutter Bowley looked better Saturday night against Tennessee. But his is a buyout of around $30 million, but has to be paid like within 30 days. Brian Kelly's is one where it can be paid over several months, over a few years. I mean, it's worded differently. How will all of these changes, and we're about to get into the whole bigger picture of the coaches, how will these changes affect coaching contracts and searches moving forward in terms of making sure that schools are protected? If this doesn't happen, you don't have to come up with this big lump sum and go, rake through your boosters to try to get this to happen if this coach doesn't pan out in a couple of years.
Well, there's a couple things that we need to see moving forward. Number one, we can't see athletic departments hit the panic button when their coach is wanted by another school, because that's how you get into the Jimbo Fisher, Brian Kelly situation where it's the biggest buyout in college football history, because they heard LSU wanted Jimbo and they said, we're going to pay him instead. And because of the way the contract works, now he is locked in until 2031 being paid by a program that paid him to go away and not coach. So we're going to have to see, I think, more people go away from those lucrative, massive extensions. If you want to add extensions, you have to add them with addendums. You have to add them with stepping stones. You got to add them with counter blocks on this is what we want, we expect from you, and we'll pay you this amount of money. And you got to be able to do, I think, more so those things to where it's yearly processes, because of at least you don't put more stress onto what is going to be your athletic department. How are you funneling for money in that standpoint? Unfortunately, there are going to be some coaches that will just turn you down if you don't give them what they want. I mean, like, that's just the bottom line. Like, Lane Kiffin's name is coming up right now when it's regarding the Florida job. And now, hey, LSU's open on up. Let's enter the chat and see let's see if we can catch his interest. And Ole Miss still is a team that is doing everything possible to guarantee that they land him. Well, what if Lane is one of these people that goes and says, I want $13.2 million for the rest of my life every single year? Well, a program like LSU can afford to do that and not really mess around and lose chump change. And the same for Florida to some degree. And Ole Miss can't. But Ole Miss also, if they ever were to make a swing, this would be the coach to do it on because of the success they've had. First 10-win regular season, first 11-win season in program history. They would make that swing. But LSU can also come back and counter and say, we're not going to do that because of what we just did with Brian Kelly. Florida can do that because of what we just did with Billy Napier. We don't want to pay these lucrative buyouts if you don't pan out. So we are going to go ahead and say you have to meet these criteria to where maybe the job's not as enticing for Lane. So that's going to be really interesting, I think, is to see how coaches look at their current situation, look at potential job openings, and ask themselves, what do I want in return? Do I want the money that I'm guaranteed to where maybe I only get 1 or 2 shots to go win a national title? Or do I want to go ahead and play this game of I can quickly turn this program around to where I can start demanding more, but also they're going to go about this pathway of we are going to make this very, very difficult and very challenging when regarding you have to hit all these milestones to get paid X amount of dollars.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Talking with Cole Thompson of SEC Unfiltered. We were talking too about you mentioned in terms of locking guys up early. The latest to do that obviously was Curt Cignetti.
Yeah.
After State came open, he's a Pennsylvania guy. They came in, made him the 3rd highest paid coach at a school that's had 0 football history until he arrived. Let's just be honest about it. Is he changed the game where he came in and changed this moribund program around overnight? Now is it where you might have had 5 years, maybe to turn a program around? Now you might not get 2. I mean, fan bases, already, a coach loses a game on Saturday, they may be 5-2, 5-3. They want to fire him. And it's has he changed the game in terms of expectations?
Location is really, really important when discussing this. So Mississippi State, perfect example. Mississippi State is probably another team that's going to have a very difficult conversation this offseason of, do we give Jeff Lebby 1 more year, or do we move off of him because if he's yet to win a conference game in 2 years? That's a legit conversation. But Mississippi State is also a team that you do not expect for the next 3 to 4 years to be in the hunt for the college football playoff, to turn the tides and put themselves in a position to where they're supposed to be a national title threat the way Indiana has. So what Curt Cignetti is, he's been able to turn Indiana, a program that went 3-9 the year before he got there, was in the bottom 4 of all Power 4 programs in recruiting, and use the transfer portal as a massive stepping stone for him and turn them into an 11-1 team. And now back to 8-0 this year. It's a major sign to these major programs like Alabama's, like USC, like LSU, whenever they make the next hire, Florida, when they make the next hire, to say, hey, we're paying you all this money. You have all these resources. You have all of these certain addendums that we have crossed off for you to be able to build. You can't use the excuse of, well, I'm still building. Like we're almost there. We're on the edge. So location's a big time deal. If let's just say they fire Jeff Lebby and they go out and they hire this year's Curt Cignetti, who for my money, there's a couple names that we can look at, but one would be Willie Fritz of Houston. Willie Fritz is a program builder that's been able to turn every single team that he has ever worked with into a legit threat in their conference. Let's say Mississippi State was able to go hire him. If he does what Cignetti's done in 2 years down there, you build him a statue. If he does that at LSU, you say, okay, well, what's next? So the entire process of where you are, history of the school, expectations, money, contracts, what you're able to use in NIL funds, what you get in resources via the portal, what you're able to go ahead and bring into recruiting, all those things matter. And at a place like Indiana, it's honestly unheralded to see what we're watching in Bloomington right now with Cignetti. But it's also why if you go to a school that's a lower tier in the ACC, like if Jake Dickert, what he's doing out at Wake Forest right now, if it continues to blossom into a legit ACC threat, you pay him whatever he wants because of this is something new for you. Mm-hmm. But that's the expectation at other major schools. And that's where I think you're going to have these conversations of coaches. Hey, why don't I just ask the school that has realistic expectations and can help me build a pretty good balanced lifestyle? Why don't I just ask them to pay me whatever I want? And maybe that'll be good enough for me then to be able to turn down an LSU. And that'll be the interesting thing. I think the other thing that's going to be really interesting, Larry, that we constantly aren't seeing enough is, when are the coordinators going to get their opportunities? Because of all we're seeing right now is major schools going to another major school that goes to another major school that then plucks this name away, that plucks this name away, that then plucks it, and then we get Nick Saban 2.0. Like the Nick Saban retirement was a practice run for 2025. That's really what we are at this point. Kirby was a defense coordinator before he got the Georgia job. Dan Lanning was defense coordinator before he got the Oregon job. Ryan Day was an offense coordinator before he got the Ohio State job. And you could argue that those are 3 of the top 5 coaches in the sport. Mm-hmm. Do you go back to that well and ask yourself, hey, I'm at a prominent school. I know that this is going to work because we're going to be able to put him on a very cheap process, but we'll give him all the money to be able to build it. And let's see if he's really cut up for his chops. And then we look like geniuses if we end up hiring this guy and he ends up coming in on a bargain and he uses all the allocation of money that we were going to give towards a major coach, and he's doing better than the major coach.
Yeah. No, it's a great point. Getting back to some action on the field, we talked about the 3 teams in the SEC, all without coaches. They have one thing in common. Those are the last 3 opponents of Texas A&M. The Aggies last week, they beat Florida 2 weeks ago, Arkansas last week, and this weekend, LSU. When do we start talking about I think we already do. Here's a team legitimately has a shot now, maybe, at running the table in the SEC, which I never thought would be possible in today's SEC. But right now, they're beating folks left and right, and they're looking good doing it.
Yeah, they already beat Auburn, who's probably going to fire Hugh Freeze. Shane Beamer's not entirely off of the hot seat. There's rumors that Sark wants to go back to the NFL. So, I mean, quite literally, Larry, when we look at this, and Eli Drugich could be going to another school. So quite literally, A&M's opponents could simply be everyone that we played. Either we made them play musical chairs this offseason or we got them fired. Like that could be it. Like quite literally how impressive it's been this year. I think A&M has finally entered the chat of national championship status. Now, I will say I had my doubts going into the LSU game. I thought they were going to win, but it's the way that they manhandled LSU in the second half and the fact that they were able to win on the ground. It was the fact that they were able to win via the air. No wide receiver finished with over 47 yards, which meant that Marcel Reed was just getting the ball into multiple playmakers' hands and they were working after the catch. Because he finished with over 250 passing yards in that matchup and 2 touchdowns. They were able to win with their run defense, 11 tackles for loss. They had 7 sacks on the night. We got to the fourth quarter, and it looked like a ghost town in Death Valley. And that's not supposed to be a thing that happens.
Right.
Like, part of the reason why I think Brian Kelly was fired is because losing to Texas A&M, it's not a non-negotiable, but losing to Texas A&M and watching LSU at night turn into that atmosphere is a non-negotiable. And A&M made it that way. And A&M was able to handle everything that was thrown in their path. They had great response mechanisms in the second half to be able to, when even being down, outscore them 35-7. And the last touchdown came with little over a minute left. So really 35-0 in the second half. Yeah. And they constantly remind me of like a girl when you're at that standpoint in life of, I have to have certain requirements to date this person because of I'm being picky. I don't want to go ahead and waste my time. They are the walking red flag that you see that actually is full of green flags. And every single date, every single week, they just cross off another thing that makes you feel good. Like, oh, we can't throw the football today. Okay, no problem. We're going to run it with our backup running back because of our first running back is out for 390 yards against the team. Oh, well, we can't run the football today. Okay, no problem. We're going to send our star pass rusher, and he's going to sack Jackson Arnold 8 times, and we're going to have 13 tackles for losses. Oh, our defense is it can't win in a rock fight. Okay, well, Marcel Reed is going to throw for over 400 yards. He's going to run for another 50, and he's going to get 6 total touchdowns. Oh, well, everything comes down to coaching. Okay, well, our coach left to go to Duke. He turned Duke into a contender. Not only that, he used to coach at Notre Dame. He's 2-0 against his former boss at Notre Dame, and he's made some incredible hires that has now put Texas A&M in the conversation of being a legit threat. Like we're at a point of, what more do you need to see from A&M to believe it? Like, do they have to cure cancer? Do they have to bring back society? Do they have to raise the ghosts of those at the bonfire and say, look, we can work in paranormal activities? Oh, well, you know what? You couldn't do it fast enough. Like that's where we are with Texas A&M. It's because of the Batty Daggery syndrome has burnt us for so many years of putting the wagon before the horse where this team actually meets the expectation. And unfortunately, we're still waiting to go ahead and fall for that trap, but we can't. Like, this team is built different. And it's a major testament to Mike Elko and his staff and what they've been able to accomplish.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it feels like it's going to be a Texas A&M, Alabama, the Crimson Tide also moving through, looking really good. I mean, they've got an LSU team coming up here in a couple of weeks after the bye. Again, that's in disarray, obviously. Oklahoma's a test. Obviously, Auburn always is a challenge no matter what. Even though they've got some issues, but it's over there. It's at Jordan-Hare. But it is. We haven't even talked about the rest of the league because it's been so crazy just in the SEC alone.
Yeah.
But this is what we talked back before the season. You were saying then, this is my no sleep time.
I literally did. I mean, I'm watching U of H, Arizona State games just to get a good gauge on where we are in the Big 12. And by the way, we are nowhere near finishing the Big 12. I mean, Utah plays Cincinnati this weekend. Like, just wrap your brain around that for starters. That it's a conference game, Ohio versus Salt Lake City. That's a conference game, so we'll just throw that out there. But also, Cincinnati is the least talked about. Cincinnati is quite literally the former child actor that did not glow up. Instead, they glow down, and we treat them like they are a hobbit or a hobo or a disgustingly deranged animal because they're not in the pretty picture. And they've only had one loss, and it's in Nebraska on a neutral field because of an interception with 30 seconds left. Like that's where we are in the league. Cincinnati, a coach that I said, and I went on record, and I can't believe that he has proven me wrong once again, that Scott Satterfield would be the first coach fired in the Big 12, has them playing for a spot in Arlington. I mean, this is where we are when it comes to the world of college football. And that doesn't include the ACC and what we got going on in the Big 10, which is also more clustery and tomfoolery outside of the top two teams.
Yeah. And we're not even to the first CFP rankings, which will make even more conversation and less sleep from my friend Cole Thompson. Cole, it is always good to talk with you and bring in the energy and the receipts, everything else. We can't wait till you have some time to talk with us again. And as always, man, try to get some sleep and enjoy the games.
Lies. That's lies. You don't want me to get some sleep because then we don't have to have these conversations, because half the time that I'm so excited is because I'm delusional and I don't know what's going on. So there we go, Larry. We'll talk next time.
Fair enough. Sounds good. Cole, thanks so much, buddy. Take care. Cole Thompson once again, the SEC Unfiltered, joining us here on the Sports IQ. It's a great way to start off our show here on a Monday. All right, we've got more to come. More coaching news as well, and we'll talk NFL coming up on the way.
Everything is expensive right now. Gas, food, you name it. You're spending more, you are making the same or less money. So what do? You rack up credit card debt. That's what you do. It's not your fault. It's the economy. And guess what? If you rack up too much credit card debt like some of us, you can't pay your bills. Then the credit card companies, as nice as they are, start hounding you for money. Then you start your downward spiral. A smart thing for you to do is to call the Zero Debt. They can help you consolidate all your credit card bills into one affordable payment. Millions of people have done it. It works to make you debt-free. Make this free call right now. It costs you nothing to learn more.
800-507-7293. 800-507-7293. 800-507-7293. That's 800-507-7293.
You're listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Man, great to have Cole on the show, as always. Really, we could have him on like for an hour, right? The two of us just go at it. Such great energy and such great passion and just great information. It's awesome to have him on, and so we appreciate his time as well. More on the whole college football coaching thing. I mean, here we are. It is October 27th, and it's just nuts that this is we're at this point already. Think about it this way: 67 jobs in the Power Four conferences, right? ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and SEC. Already here in October, there are 8 openings for head coaching jobs. That's 12% of the schools already have searches underway. And that's not including those programs that may ship their coaches out of town here at the season's end. Places like Auburn or Wisconsin, Kentucky, they've had enough of Mark Stoops, as you just mentioned, about to post back-to-back losing seasons. $30 million buyout. Will someone write a check and get him out? Mississippi State, Cole just talked about. There's been rumblings in Michigan State, even though Coach Smith just got there. Maybe they make a move at East Lansing. South Carolina and Shane Beamer, possibly. This season has not gone the way they would have hoped after coming up just short of its 10-win season in 2024. Obviously, Bill Belichick having some problems in North Carolina. That experiment has not gone well for the legend from the NFL. Clemson and Dabo Swinney, all he does every year we've talked about, he's missed double-digit wins only once in the past, 14, 15 years. But things are, not settled there. Maybe he jumps the ship out of Clemson and goes to one of these other openings, possibly. A lot of talk, obviously, that Lane Kiffin will have his choice of openings. Will Florida go after him? Would LSU go after him? Would he leave Oxford for those jobs? Eli Drinkwitz has kept Missouri, got them back in level they were with Gary Pinkel before he retired. Could he be headed elsewhere? Could Steve Sarkisian leave Texas? Maybe go back to the NFL. That was some buzz about that this weekend after Texas really, again, preseason, number one, this season has not gone the way they would have liked. Back-to-back overtime wins in the SEC over lesser opponents. Not what the fan base there in Austin expected. So when you think about it, break all this down, we could have a third of Power 4 conference football head coaching jobs turn over and have new coaches in place for the 2026 season. And when you think about it, in the SEC, you could have more than half of SEC schools change coaches before next August. I mean, it is one where, again, it's NIL, it's transfer portal. It is wanting to get your staff in place because you've got the high school recruiting signing day coming up in early December, and then the transfer portal. So many coaches, so many programs right now don't want to wait until later and maybe fall behind the eight ball and all of that. So again, the money is changing things, the landscape. It's insane what's happening right now in college football. But again, 8 openings right now among the Power 4. That's not including Colorado State and UAB. With you can guarantee much more to come. Strap in because the coaching carousel this winter is going to be unprecedented. All right, we'll talk college basketball with Chris Dortch of the Blue Ribbon College Basketball Yearbook, blueribbonyearbook.com. That's coming up next.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right. For about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back. But you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now. 800-215-0341. 800-215-0341. 800-215-0341. That's 800-215-0341. Packages start at $29.99 a month with signed agreement. Restrictions apply. Speak to a representative for complete offer details. See Vivint.com for license details. Terms and conditions apply.
Homeowners, if you're looking for the best in home security and smart home technology at a price you can actually afford, we have great news. Now you can get Vivint's award-winning home security systems starting at about $1 a day. U.S. News and World Report has recognized Vivint as the best professionally installed home security system of 2022. And right now, you can get Vivint's home security technology for about $1 a day. Plus, get free professional installation from a licensed technician. Protect your home and loved ones for as low as $1 a day. Call right now for your free home security consultation.
800-613-8053. 800-613-8053. 800-613-8053. That's 800-613-8053.
You're locked in to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
We haven't forgotten, of course, college basketball. Hard to believe we are 1 week away from the start of the regular season. I can't wait. Oh my! You guys know, if you've listened to the show, you know that I do the Dirty Dozen. I'm always into hoops. I am chest deep every year, and we're about to jump into the pool again. Joining us once again, joining us first time here on the show, I should say, Chris Dortch. He's the editor and publisher of Blue Ribbon College Basketball Yearbook. Also does work with our friend Seth Davis over at Hoops HQ as well. Chris, welcome to Sports IQ.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, you guys can't see us, but Chris is an East Tennessee State University guy. You know, I'm an Eastern Illinois University guy, and we're just so happened today we're both wearing our caps on the show.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, representing mid-majors. There you go.
That's right.
So here we go with hoops, and already, Chris, we've had so many. I love seeing these teams early on challenged themselves in the exhibition against some of the best talent around the country. We just saw Purdue go into Kentucky and lose last Friday night. Kentucky fans going crazy. This is great for both schools. You get a chance for this kind of atmosphere. It doesn't cost you anything, the win-loss column. But I also remind fans, this is just an exhibition. It doesn't count yet. There's some things you're working on outside of just trying to win and lose a game.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, both teams are still 0-0. And it's funny, I was at an exhibition last night that sort of resembled something you might see in the Elite Eight. It was Duke at Tennessee. And a bunch of us, people that I know there, we were joking about back in the day, the exhibitions were Marathon Oil and Athletes in Action. And one guy reminded me of a game that Tennessee had scheduled where the other team didn't show. And Fran Fraschilla just showed up. He was at the Louisville game the other night, and he drove down to Tennessee. He used to work for Rick Barnes at Providence. Okay. So they gave him a seat on press row, and it happened to be next to me. And he and I know one another. And we were joking about why the NCAA hasn't figured stuff out like this long before. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, summer practice. That's like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You know, you've had spring football practice forever. Summer practice in basketball has improved the quality of the game. Mm-hmm. And similarly, we were talking about these exhibitions. Mm-hmm. And the deal is, and for people that don't know, you can play 2 exhibitions against Marathon Oil if you want, public, and you can charge, or you can play 2 closed scrimmages against an opponent, and it's top secret, you know, where nothing can be released and nobody can talk about it. It's like it didn't exist, but it does. Mm-hmm. Or you can do one of each. But recently, and I think it started with some natural disasters, maybe a hurricane relief, the NCAA finally figured out, wow, we can get some interest in our game if we allow these teams to play. Now, the caveat is they have to donate to charity. Mm-hmm. So Duke at Tennessee was a no-brainer. Western North Carolina, which is right above Tennessee, as you know, got crushed by that hurricane last year. So I think all proceeds, and it was a sellout. I mean, it seats a little over 21,000. You know, those proceeds will go to those poor folks up there. And I think it's a great idea for that, but it's a great idea to see what you've got. Duke rolls in there and wins. And I'm telling you, if there's a better freshman than Cam Boozer, and I know Kansas fans will say, well, what about Darren Peterson and, A.J. DeBonta at BYU? And this dude had 15 boards at the half, ends up with 23 and 24. Wow. The week before, he goes for 33, 12, 4 assists, and 5 threes against UCF. And this guy's a stud. And so these exhibitions give you a chance. And I watched the Kentucky exhibition, and honestly, it didn't surprise me at all that Kentucky won. I think Mark Pope is doing a great job. And before I left Twitter, I never used to really want to joust or hot take with anybody, but somebody had something that I just had to respond to. He said, well, I guess we won't sign any more 5-stars, you know, once they hired Pope. And he started bringing in transfers like mid-major guys. And I said, you know, why don't you give the guy a chance to build a team that he thinks fits his style? Yeah. And sure enough, they get to the Sweet 16. And if they weren't, they lost Jackson Robinson and Lamar Butler was hurt. They had tons of injuries. Had they stayed healthy, they could have been a Final Four team.
Yeah.
So, they did what I thought they could do. They beat Purdue, which was playing in a hostile environment. But does that mean anything, as you said, for either team? It does not. March and April, hopefully April for some, is really all that matters. But at the same time, as I said, Fran and I were joking about this. It's like NCAA sometimes they just spring stuff on you without really thinking it through. And then other times it's like, duh, why haven't you done this for years?
Right.
So I love these exhibitions. It gets me fired up. I mean, I'm fired up year round for hoops. That's just kind of what I do. But this gets people interested.
Yeah.
And it's on ESPN or whatever, and they're great games. And I thought Kentucky controlled that game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's indicative of what Kentucky will be able to do, because Coach Pope, regardless of where he gets them, he might get a guy from ETSU or EIU, but they fit.
Right.
And he knows how to play 10 or 11 guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And his trick is to just convince everybody your time is going to come.
Yeah.
If you're not playing right now, your time is going to come.
Yeah, yeah. And he's done that before. Proven track record, what he did at BYU. Like he said, even last year with all the injuries, kept that team intact, and they had a much higher ceiling. And so certainly, and this kind of adds to that, the win they had over Purdue. You mentioned Duke and John Shire, and somebody who has come in as Mike Krzyzewski's handpicked successor. And to your point, not only is still recruiting on a high level, but brings in those transfers here and there when needed to kind of augment what he's done, and has kept this Duke program on the highest level. And once again, I think a team, as you look over the landscape, and a team that if you pick, 5 teams with a legitimate shot to win it all, Duke's right there in the mix once again.
Couldn't agree more. And, they went in there and Tennessee got up to a 9 or 10 point lead and really had outplayed Duke for 20 minutes. And then they came out Duke in the second half and just slapped Tennessee, and Tennessee never could recover. And Cameron Boozer, he had 15 boards at the half and ended up with 24. And he scored 23 points, 6 assists. That guy is a stud. And John, and I agree with you, he's done a great job. He was the obvious heir apparent, in my opinion, but he's done a great job recruiting. Of course, the Boozer twins, their father played there. So Duke was going to be a likely landing point. But John has recruited ever since he's had the job at a very high level. And you're right. They'll bring in some transfers to sort of supplement what they have. And right now, he talked about they went in there, they beat Tennessee, hostile environment, and they don't even have Malik Brown, which is one of those transfers. He had come from Syracuse. And he said Malik's on the mend from a knee injury. And, he said he fills 3 slots for us, So he said, this is a valuable guy. And yet we came in here and won. I liked his quote. He said, we came in here on a fact-finding mission. So he didn't care whether they won or lost. It was to find out facts. Yeah. And he found out a lot. He really did. I mean, his kids played well, and you're right. They are one of those teams that you have to mention, along with Purdue, Florida, Houston, UConn. I really think there's about 12 to 14 teams that could win it all this year, and they're certainly one of them.
Yeah. Is there, and I love this because, like you said, you get a chance to test your team against the highest level. You then play some money games the first couple of weeks, and then you get in the middle of November, you get into some of the tournaments, and some of these neutral site games. We'll see teams play in New York or Chicago or Atlanta, whatever. I'm with you. It just makes it to where, in my opinion, if you're going out and just playing a bunch of cupcakes all the way to Christmas, you're doing your program a disservice. You might be 10-0. Now, it worked for Florida last year, so let's use that caveat that it certainly worked for them. For all, it doesn't. Tell me, give us a name of a team that's maybe not quite on the radar, but you think has a real shot at going deep in March that maybe isn't being talked about too much.
Well, I think even though Tennessee lost last night, I think people are sleeping on Tennessee in terms of, I mean, it's not your classic example of a sleeper, but I think people are underestimating them. The team that Rick Barnes, well, he took 2 teams in the last 2 years to the Elite Eight. This is a better team. It's a deeper team. As they showed last night, they still have a long way to go in terms of people figuring out their roles. I talked to Rick Barnes after the game, and he asked me what I thought, and I said two words: puzzle pieces. And he knew exactly what I meant. But I think that they have a chance to be better than those Elite Eight teams. I'm not just touting the SEC. I swear I'm not. But, Nate Oates told me in the summer when I was writing my story for my book, Blue Ribbon College Basketball Yearbook, that this is the best shooting team he's ever had at Alabama, and that they were going to play faster and shoot more. And they've already led the nation in scoring the last 2 years.
Right.
So they're another team that I think people are maybe not paying attention to that maybe they should. I think UCLA is another one that people should kind of keep an eye out for. So, I think we have a deep field of teams that could end up at the Final Four. I still like Florida, even though they lost a ton in their backcourt. I think, getting Boogie Flan was huge. And this kid, Xavier Lee from Princeton, he's a triple-double guy, sound, smart. So I think, and they've already got the best front line in college basketball. So I think Florida is right there. Purdue is right there. And, again, I don't know how, let's see where we've got, ESPN came out with something. They had tiers. And I'm glad to see that they put Kentucky in tier 2, which is right below the 4 teams they think can go to the Final Four. And I'll just go through that list. They've got St. John's in there. They've got Louisville in there, Michigan, which I agree with, Duke, which I couldn't agree more with after having seen them last night. Texas Tech is in there, and Arkansas. Arkansas, a lot of people don't realize they lead the SEC by a huge margin in percentage of minutes returned. It's something like 55%. In this day and age, that's like returning everybody. There's a handful of teams, and I think maybe more so than in the last couple of years, there may be more teams that have a shot. And I can only attribute that to NIL and unlimited transfers.
Yeah, exactly. And and getting those guys, having a lot of veteran teams, to your point, you're going to have a lot of veteran players. By the time you get to conference play, they've already kind of come together, had some time to gel with the summer and with the preseason. Got a little bit of time left. I want to ask you were mentioning in the break before we got in here, a story you're working on about a young man from Belmont. Tell us about him.
Yeah, Tyler Lundblade. It's the best story in college basketball last year. He was from Texas. When COVID hit, his family moved to Greensboro just for him. And he got a couple of mid-major offers, turned them down, decided to wait. But COVID prevented coaches from coming out to see him. So he was stuck. So he goes back home, walks on at SMU, earns a scholarship, would have played, but his coach, Tim Jankovich, retired. Rob Lanier, Jankovich's replacement, promptly cuts him. So he goes to TCU, walks on there, earns a scholarship. He's their third or fourth leading scorer in summer practices. And then he gets called in to the office. They cut him.
Oh,
so now we're talking about June, July. He's looking for schools. Jankovich knows Casey Alexander, the Belmont coach, and says, "Hey, I got a guy here that can really play, and I would have played him had I stayed." And Casey says, "I'm sorry, we don't have any scholarships." So a month goes by, and Jankovich calls him again, and he says, "Look, the kid can pay his way." So Casey says, "What have I got to lose?"
Yeah.
So they don't really know what he can do until August. Okay, he's a great shooter. 5th game of the year, he scores 25. And then, long story short, he goes on to make 100 threes, and he leads the nation in three-point percentage. And there were transfers that were better than him last year, but there were none more surprising.
Right.
So I've worked on this story about him, and I think it's just very compelling of a kid and a family who would not let him sway from his dream.
Yeah.
And self-belief and confidence and stick-to-itiveness, whatever you want to call it, I'll tell you, it applies to everybody in everything that they do. And it's one of the more fun stories I've ever worked on.
It's really cool, and we can't wait for it to come out. Chris, listen, great to have you on the show. I think you and I could talk for hours, but we're out of time. Hopefully, we can carve out some more of your time in the future to talk again, as we are just getting started here with the new season.
Sure, I'd enjoy that.
Yeah, we'd love that. Chris, thanks so much. Chris Dortch joining us once again. Just great insight, and what a great story on Tyler, the young man from Belmont. Chris, once again, he's the editor and publisher of Blue Ribbon College Basketball Yearbook. Also, again, does some work for Hoops HQ, and that story will be on there when he finishes. Chris, again, thanks so much for your time. We've got much more Sports IQ here on this Monday. Coming up next. Haven't talked to NBA yet. Great to have Chris on the show. Man, he was a great guest, wasn't he? Definitely have to have him back on and talk more college hoops. There's so many more questions that I have. We just ran out of time. Getting to the NBA for the Lakers last night. No LeBron James, no Luka Doncic, no problem. Austin Reeves, 51 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, just missing a triple-double. Lakers get the win over the Kings, 127-120. Victor Wembanyama does it again. 31 points, 14 rebounds. He's averaging 33 and 13 already this season. The Spurs go to 3-0, 118-107 over Brooklyn. By the way, before the game in San Antonio, they quietly raised a banner to honor Greg Popovich, 3 decades, nearly 3 decades there on the bench in Texas. 1,390 wins, most in NBA history for a head coach. Typical Popovich fashion, the Hall of Famer didn't want a ceremony, so they just raise the banner and they move on. But what a legacy he has left there. By the way, for the Nets, Cam Thomas, 40 points. That's his 10th 40-point game as a net. That ties Kevin Durant for third all-time behind Vince Carter and Kyrie Irving. Jaylen Brown, 41 points, but Boston falling to Detroit, 119-113. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 40 points, 14 rebounds, 9 assists. Another near miss of a triple-double. Milwaukee, though, losing to Cleveland, 118-113. Evan Mobley for the Cavs, 23 points, but 12 of 12 from the line. That's the best effort at the line by a Cavalier since one LeBron James back in 2004. 11 games tonight. We're watching the game in Dallas. It is Oklahoma City visiting the Mavs. The Thunder trying to go to 4-0. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander bringing that 40 points per game average. What a hot start he had in the first week down to Dallas in this one. Mavericks, of course, led by the number 1 overall pick, Cooper Flagg, who came on and helped them get their first win of the season. But again, 11 games on tap in all. Cavaliers are on the road at the Pistons. Magic visiting Philadelphia. The Bulls are 2-0, hosting the Hawks. That's an 8 p.m. start there in Chicago. Nets at the Rockets. It's the Celtics on the road at New Orleans. San Antonio's at home, trying to go to 4-0, visiting, they're hosting Toronto. We mentioned the Thunder game, Suns and the Jazz in Utah, Nuggets and T-Wolves in Minnesota. The Warriors are at home in Golden State taking on Memphis, and the Lakers home again. They will take on Portland in that one. NFL scores, meanwhile, we went over some of the highlights earlier. By the way, for the Giants, a tough break for the rookie running back out of Arizona State, Cam Skadabu, with a dislocated ankle in that one. Just a tough blow for the young player as the Giants lost, and they fall to 2-6 in the season. Eagles getting the win in Philly, 38-20. They go to 6-2 on the season. The Dolphins surprising the Falcons in Atlanta, 34-10. No Michael Penix Jr. in that one. Kirk Cousins got the start, but could not get anything going right there. How about Tua Tagovailoa? 4 touchdown passes for the Dolphins that really had struggled this year, but they get healthy in Atlanta. Meanwhile, the Jets get their first win, 39-38. They scored 23 points in the fourth quarter to come away with the victory in Cincinnati. 1-7 on the year now. The Bengals 3-5, just 1 win since quarterback Joe Burrow went down with that turf toe injury. The Patriots improved to 6-2, 32-13 over Cleveland. Meanwhile, the Bills go to 5-2 in the season as they smack down the Panthers 40-9 on the road. 21 third quarter points there for the Bills, getting it the victory in Charlotte. Ravens surprised the Bears in Baltimore 30-16. Texans over the Niners 26-15. The Bucks hold down the Saints 23-3. Broncos outslug the Cowboys in Denver 44-24. Bo Nix 247 in the air and 4 touchdown passes for the Broncos. And we mentioned the other scores as well. Titans, Colts, Packers, Steelers. Tonight, it's the Commanders and the Chiefs. All right, we've got our moment of awe coming up next.
Fans of big sports radio and sports spectacular podcasts have a new home on the Chief Sports Network. Find your favorite programs and content all in one place by downloading the Chief Sports app in your mobile device. Created in South Carolina, the Chief Sports Network is the home of an expanding network of live and podcast format programming. It is also the home of one of the leading national college football podcasts, JC and Morgan, hosted by ESPN's Mike Morgan and 24/7 Sports' JC Sherbert. Download the Chief Sports app for free and find all of your favorite programming under one easy umbrella. Thanks to all of our markets for your loyal support of Big Sports Radio and our Sports Spectacular podcast, and we look forward to connecting with you anywhere in the world on the Chief Sports app.
Time now for a moment of awe, and it goes to the quarterback from North Texas, Drew Mestemaker, setting a record, an American Conference record with 608 yards passing Friday night against Charlotte. This is unbelievable. But believe it or not, it's not the biggest ever in Division I. That goes to a quarterback back in 2014 by the name of Connor Halliday of Washington State. Threw for 734 yards back in October 2014. That number, 734 yards, was matched 2 years later by a quarterback from Texas Tech. You may have heard of him, Patrick Mahomes. But Drew Mestemaker gets our moment of awe for today. Appreciate our guests stopping by, Cole Thompson, also Chris Dortch. Appreciate you as well. It's a Sports IQ. Make it a great Monday. We'll see you next time, tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith, Monday through Friday. Continue the conversation at Sports IQ LS. We'll see you next time.